Welcome to the Primo's Musings podcast.
Good evening, Dan. How are you doing?
Good evening. Good, thank you.
Yeah, back from pickleball and watched the Wannamaker Trophy presentation where Scottie Sheffler now took home his third major after two Masters. We were wondering whether he was going to get another one other than the Masters. So let's get your initial thoughts, and we can go a little bit some of the key moments of the game, and we'll get to John Rahm eventually. But let's get your initial thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm glad that the Scotty was one of my picks. Not really going out on a limb too much there, but he was one of my picks back when we did the preview podcast on Monday night. So I'm glad that he came through and delivered. And yeah, we thought going in. I mean, the first couple days of the PGA, he just kind of hung around. Didn't have his A game by no means, but he didn't shoot himself out. I think he was like -5 or -6 going into the weekend. So he was like, top 10. He was there. He was hanging around, ready to make a charge. And, then we all saw what happened yesterday on Saturday where he just went nuts, especially on the back nine. He had that eagle on the drivable par four. Birdied a couple of par fives. I think he also birdied number 17, the par three, the island par three. So he just caught fire yesterday, and then he had slept on a nice lead, about a three. I think he had a 3-shot lead going into today, and we thought it was maybe he would just run away with the thing. And then after the first few holes today, we saw his lead was up to 5, and even going into the 8th or 9th hole, he had about a 5-stroke lead. But before you know it, John Rahm had a huge front nine, and early on in the back nine, he was doing well and made a charge. And before you know it, they were tied at I think -9, either 9 or 10, but I'm pretty sure they were both tied at 9 under. And that's when I was texting with you and gave you the famous please put the hex on John Rahm, just because I'm not a huge fan of Mr. Rahm. I liked him back, I think, a couple of years ago when he, won the U.S. Open at Torrey Pines and the Masters, and then I just think it was the whole live thing, how he took the money and ran, and we haven't heard from him much, and he struggled the last year or two at the majors. So I mean, it's great. I'm glad for him that he had a great tournament, and I think a lot of these guys, I think they probably regret having left now for live. We can talk about that later, obviously, but just when the environment, they don't get that at all at a live event. There's like 50 people there. It's on some random Fox Sports TV station buried. It's so anyways, but back to Scotty. So Scotty was just off on the front nine today, struggling with all his drives are going left on him. He was, I think, +1 or +2 on the front nine. And then I don't know what it was. He figured something out on the back nine, and his drives were just all freaking ripped right down the fairway. Started having, irons that was going right. All his irons were going right at the pins. He started making putts, once again. And everything just kind of came together. And as we said, Rahm fell apart. Bryson made a charge for a little bit there on the back nine as well today. He was, I think, at -7 or 8 at one point, maybe 1 stroke back, but he just couldn't make a couple putts when he needed to. Unfortunately, he had a few that lipped out, a few close ones, and that was the end for Bryson. And and then we got Scotty with his third major. Second, he's half the way to the to the career Grand Slam. And so it was just great seeing his happiness afterwards. I don't know if you watched the final hole where you don't see Scotty showing too much emotion usually, but he took his hat, fired it down on the putting green. You just don't see that from Scotty. He was really just had a lot of I guess emotion built up in him, and he let it all out. And so I guess he had a tough start to the year. He won his first tournament, as we know, I think 2 weeks ago by a huge margin, but he had that kitchen injury back in December with the shards of glass in his hand that were removed. So he struggled a little bit to get the year started, but now he's obviously found his groove and can't wait for the U.S. Open in about 3 weeks. See how he does there. We'll see. So those are my thoughts. Go ahead. Let's see. What were your kind of take-home thoughts for the weekend?
Yeah, you kind of mentioned it was, I think we were texting back and forth, and there was a point when the score was started -9, both for Rahm as well as Scotty. And as you mentioned, when the day started, he was up. I think he was minus 11, so he actually finished even par for the day. But he shot at 37 on the front nine, which started. I think he had like two bogeys. I think he had a bogey on the first hole as well, so he lost the lead right away. He went to minus 10 after the bogey. But I think it was almost like anticlimactic. After Scotty was up. After the score was tied at minus 9 all, then you saw the infamous green mile that came to haunt John Rahm. I think he was like plus 5 in those three holes, 16, 17, and 18. There was many opportunities he had where the birdies one of them would just lip out, or the other one would just leave him short a little bit. Um, but Scotty somehow, like you said, in the back nine, settled down, started to play a little more consistent, but the whole world around him was falling apart. It was not just um, Rom. It was also JT Poston was falling apart. Then you had Bryson DeChambeau falling apart. And interestingly, when you looked at um, the final top 10, you actually had Harris English in second place along with Bryson DeChambeau and Davis Riley. And who would have thought? And Jonathan Vegas, who was the clubhouse leader for the first 2 days, was minus 5. And your buddy Jochen Neiman actually finished fourth, or eighth at minus 4. I didn't even think about that. And all the guys, the no-name guys that we were talking about, Ryan Gerard, those guys finished like minus 4. And same thing with Matt Fitzpatrick. Yep, he was actually in the mix as well. And just Rahm's momentum just faltered on that green mile that we talked about. But it was all Scotty all the way in the back nine. He was very consistent, hit the ball. I mean, pretty much like split the fairways. Even when he was in the bunker, got out of the bunker a couple of times, put the ball very closely, made a couple of big par saves, as well as some of the birdies to kind of extend the lead. And once he got to like a 6-shot lead, I didn't, or even a 5-shot lead, I didn't think anyone was catching him after that. I mean, his journey was what, 69, 68, 65, which was yesterday. That was the one that saved him, I think, got the lead. And then the 71 was, that was par score that he had. The third day is when he made that major move to that, especially, I think he had like very crucial birdies on what, 10, 14, and 15. I think that ultimately proved the difference. Um, you know, uh, and I think he's now joined a very elite company, which I think Mr. Nance did mention. um, Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus. I think they have the three major titles and 15 PGA Tour wins before the age of 29. That's an incredibly rare company. Um, and maybe this calls for sustained dominance. But you know what? This makes golf so interesting as we go into the U.S. Open at Oakmont, because now you have Rory and Scotty both with one apiece going in to Oakmont. But what do you make out of what happened to John Rahm? And like Scotty was just great, but what did you think about John Rahm? I know he had a late surge, but then kind of fell apart. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, you wonder if part of it is just due to the, like you said, from just not having the same competition. I'm still thinking, on the PGA Tour versus Live week in, week out. It's just a different feel, different atmosphere. And Rahm, he got hot for a while and he caught lightning in a bottle. He was draining putts. It was like reminiscent of back when he won the Masters, or Torrey Pines. He was thinking, when he won the U.S. Open 3-4 years ago. Out at Torrey Pines, he was, he just looked automatic on the putting greens, and there the hole looked like it was probably 3 feet wide for him. But then it just all fell apart when maybe he went at the pin on number 17 on the par 3, and that wasn't the play, because that green was kind of dried up, baked out, they said by then, and it just hit hard and just went right into the water. That was not the play to go right at the pin. So you kind of question maybe some of his decision making, that which whether or not that's a factor, like I said, of not getting the week in, week out competition that the PGA guys get on the tour, just because of the different format and different style of the events. So I mean, like I said, I guess Rahm. We see he's still got the game, and what was interesting though was we had two live guys that were like second and third right on the leaderboard there, right behind. So that was interesting with Bryson, and I mean Bryson though you look at his last couple of years at the majors, he's always right there. He's just he's just
He was
knocking at
there
the
with
door.
Rory. He was there with
Yes.
Rory at the Masters. So,
And then last year he was second at the PGA to Xander, and he won the U.S. Open. So look at those last like four events, or four of the last six events. He was basically a second or third place or champion. So so Bryson was right there, and I mean, what still was so interesting though is down the stretch how once Scottie had that lead, 4 or 5 strokes, he just played it so conservative and smart. Whereas we saw what happened to Rory at the Masters. Scottie's just so cool under pressure, smart decisions. When he had not a great drive, I think on 16, so he just laid up short, played it to the front of the green, and 17, instead of going at the pin or anywhere near the water, he just put it out to the right in the fringe. I think he chipped and got up and down there. And then on 18, it was obviously it was a foregone conclusion at that point. 18, he had like a 4 or 5 shot lead. Bogeyed 18, but didn't really care. It didn't really matter at that point, obviously. But interesting. I don't know if I watched most of the back 9 and a lot of the front 9. One of the commentators made the comparison of Scottie to the tennis player Pete Sampras. Frank Nobilo mentioned that as far as their personality, they don't get very emotional. They were both amazing champions. Sampras at one point was the all-time Grand Slam leader, right, until the big 3, and
14.
14, right? So, which seems like a small number now, but anyways. But similar personality. Sheffler just so cool under pressure, never really, never gets rattled, even when the wheels were coming off a little bit on the front 9. You never saw any real frustration. Didn't slam a club down, no emotion. He just kind of even keeled and then got it together on the back. And then finally, it all kind of came to a head when we saw him slam the hat down. Finally, when he won as the kind of the coronation. So so that was that.
Got him $19 million for the champion, but no, I think he got like 3.42 million for that. The over total price was 19 million anyway.
Oh yeah,
but he also collected 750 FedEx points. So that just now that he has 3 championships right now, 3 majors right now. The one thing I did want to you're talking about how he played safe. I think once he got the lead, even on 18, he pushed the ball to the right, way into the rough, and then he just laid up. And I think you could hear like a smattering of I don't call it booze, but because he didn't go for the green from there. It was 188 yards. He played it safe, and then third shot he put it on. And I think if if that putt had to be a deciding putt, he would have made that putt. But he just pushed the putt a little bit, got the bogey, and then walked away with the 5-stroke win. I mean, I don't think he knew it was coming. And to your point, he showed a lot of emotion. He threw his hat down, obviously hugged his wife and his son Bennett. And I think his dad was there, and obviously with his caddy as well. So I think it was incredible comeback, especially coming on the heels of the Byron Nelson. And there was a lot of questions that when we were doing the preview, I kind of mentioned Scottie's inexperience on this course because he's not played a real, like a Wells Fargo kind of course. I mean, he's played in the President's Cup and he didn't win any. But this was the first time he's actually played in a tournament play at this course. And I think the last they tested him, I mean, usually when you see like a Tiger in the past, when he got like a 3-stroke lead going into the final day, you can forget about it. I mean, how many times have you seen Tiger blow a lead? And this really tested him. This shows the heart of a champion, especially as he didn't worry about other golfers. He focused on his part, making birdies, like 3 birdies during the back 9, which I got to watch pretty much. Once it was tied at 9-all, I got to watch pretty much the rest of the. And it became like I said, anticlimactic because the last 3-4 holes, it was just a matter of Rahm was just even in the 17th hole, he had a double bogey. You knew that it was over at that time. And Bryson was already done for the day, so there was no more holes Bryson could play. And the amount of putts Bryson missed, like you were mentioning about Bryson too, even yesterday, there were so many opportunities he missed, so many birdies that he could have easily contended for this Championship, like he was contending for the Masters and other majors in the previous years too. So that's where we are. I mean, we are with Scotty. So now we go to Oakmont and then see if uh, like you said, he's already done two out of the four. Can he put U.S. Open also in his back pocket to get to the 75% of it? That'll be incredible,
Yeah.
considering McIlroy just finished four
Yeah.
just recently.
Yeah. No, the U.S. Open, I think, will happen for him sooner than the British Open. It seems like the British Open, I don't know if it takes a little bit of luck and a little bit of a lot more experience too, because just knowing how to play with that weather over there. We can talk about that before the British Open, but you got the weather elements and a lot of luck as far as if you're the first group out or the last group the first few days, because the weather changes so dramatically between every few hours over there. In Scotland and England. So, but anyways, he'll worry about that when he gets there. But I think the U.S. Open, I think that's going to be next on his horizon. I think that's going to happen. In the next year or two. I have a feeling he's going to get one of the next couple.
Yeah. Hey, there was one other thing I wanted to talk about. There was this whole, I don't know if it's a controversy, and I was also listening some to the PGA radio about the whole driver failing a USGA test before the tournament. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak specifically as to the regulations of the driver, but I heard about that too. Once after 2 days of Rory struggling so dramatically with the driver, I think he was last or maybe like 72 out of 76 or something of people that made the cut with driving stats. He was way down there, which is so un-Rory like, because that's the strength of his game. Usually, he's the best driver of the ball in the game, both accuracy and distance. So it was shocking how poor he was the first couple of days. I think he made like 3 or 4 fairways each day, and that's it. And they mentioned, you're right, how on when he first showed up to the PGA site, Quail Hollow, on Monday for practice rounds, they I guess randomly they select randomly some people to do a test of their clubs, kind of like a drug test, like in other sports, just random selection, but they randomly select the clubs. And like I said, I don't know I didn't look up the details as to why it was quote unquote non-conforming, whether it was too many ounces or if the head. I think sometimes the head is supposed to be no more than like 460 cc's. The surface area, maybe it went beyond that, or I'm not sure the reason why it was non-conforming. But it's interesting that once they made him swap it out for a different club, I assume the same. I'm sure it's the same make, same shaft, probably just maybe a slightly different head size. That he struggled so dramatically. So you kind of wonder now about the Masters, what happened there, if that was the same club.
Well, I don't think it was
think
just
back,
Rory.
who knows?
I don't think it was just Rory, because as I was listening to the PGA radio, they were saying that a lot of other golfers too. In fact, um, Scotty actually shared that he was among the group of players whose drivers were also deemed non-conforming
Oh, really?
early in the week, leading him to get a new driver ahead for the competition rounds today
Really?
too.
Scotty?
So yes,
Really?
I'm just reading an article which says where Scottie Sheffler here, my driver did fail me this week. We had a feeling it was going to be coming because I'd used the driver for a year. I was kind of fortunate for it to last long. I felt like it. Yeah, so we can. I think it was not just Rory, but it was also Scotty. So uh, it's not like it's not a big controversy. That's what the PGA radio was saying, that hey, everybody was kind of focusing on Rory, but I think there were other golfers too, and Scotty also confirmed. So there you go. So we can put that Masters thing to bed right now, I think.
Yeah.
Um, I think, like I said, yeah, go ahead.
And I was going to say, but about Rory, yeah, he had unfortunately a really poor performance. We weren't sure what was going to happen coming off the Masters. Whether some people thought he was going to just run away with it because of the monkey was off his back after winning at the Masters. He completed the career Grand Slam, and and also his familiarity and success at this course. He's won. I think three Wells Fargos in the past, so he knows the course so well. So a lot of people thought he was going to just run away with this thing, or at least be there on Sunday and on the top first page of the leaderboard. And he just was, he was one of the first people out today. First groups out. He was finished towards the bottom, so that was obviously quite disappointing. So yeah, because we just weren't sure what to expect from him coming out of the, and maybe people thought he was just kind of run down a little bit after kind of post the Masters, post all the celebrating he did afterwards. So some people thought he mentally was not going to be quite there, and who knows what led to his poor performance. So yeah, we'll see what happens to him next also. But Rory, we've seen a lot of, he's kind of either does really well or really bad at these majors. It seems like over the last several years, whereas Scottie, Bryson, they're kind of just steady, even killed right there.
So let's quickly go down to the picks we did, right? So you had Scottie Sheffler and Justin Thomas. So Justin Thomas was somebody who didn't make the cut, right? And then Scottie won it for you. And for me, I had Xander and Rory. Unfortunately, Xander finished -1. And I think, like you just talked about, Rory finished plus, I think, was it +2 or +1?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, he didn't finish. He was not in the top, as we can say. I think he finished like 37th or 38th. I think maybe even worse than that. Oh no, he finished 47. There you go, +3. Rory finished +3. So, and then we had two of our dark horses too, right? Aberg was pretty much
he missed the cut as well, I think. Aberg, yeah.
He missed the cut too. Yeah, I know. I guess I'm not going to be picking Aberg anymore because I think going forward, but your guy Neiman finally came through. I think he finished in the top. Top 8.
Yeah, he missed him. I picked Corey Connors and I think Justin Rose.
Yes, Corey Connors too.
Yeah.
Well, Connors finished 19th. And
okay, Connors did all right. That was a good pick. Rose did not make the cut. He struggled. Yeah.
All right. So with that, we wrap it up. But we will be coming very quickly to. We'll jump from golf to tennis because we have the French Open coming up very soon with Alcaraz just, completely demolishing Sinner in the second set. I got to watch the entire match. The first set, Sinner had some opportunities, and I had two set points at 15-40, Alcaraz serving. Alcaraz was able to save both of them, went to the tiebreaker, jumped to a 3-0 lead, and never looked back. And then once he got to the second set, it was 5-0 before Sinner could even wake up. Yeah, it was just incredible. But it's good for Sinner to come back and kind of at least play before the French Open. So we'll see if it'll be Alcaraz or it'll be somebody else who can defend. It will be Alcaraz defending his title or somebody else. So okay, we'll be back again. Thanks, Dan. I mean, I know we got to watch amazing golf from Scottie. I mean, well deserved. I think now he now puts the pressure on both Bryson and Rory, so that'll going to be fun to see the rest of the way. And even Koepka. I think I don't even see Koepka.
Yeah, anymore. No, he missed the cut also, I think, and Phil.
That's another one, right?
Yeah.
Another one of the live guys, right? Hey, one thing I did want to call out, I know for AW, who was a big fan of Kim, who had like a hole-in-one on the 252-yard par 3. So we called out AW here again. So. All right. Okay, this is good.
Good night.
Thanks again. Good night, Dan. I'm going to stop the recording. Hold on.
Thanks for listening. Primo and Dan will be back soon.